And then he smiled at me. It was just a small curl of the lip that would have gone unnoticed if I hadn't spent the last several hours studying his face. So, he said in a rough baritone, here we are. I tried to respond but couldn't right away. My throat had clammed shut. Terror filled me. I felt like the whole underground cavern we were in had just collapsed onto me. I coughed and stammered and finally managed with a raspy voice to ask a question that kept me up all night, drove me halfway to madness, and led me to the place and the moment, to this place and this moment. What are you? He ignored me. He stood, and the train doors opened. Then shockingly, he turned to face me. Coming? He didn't wait. He didn't wait for an answer. He walked out onto the platform. I scrambled to follow. Come on, damn it! I shouted. Talk to me. Who are you? What? Why do you ride the metro all fucking day? He didn't look back or slow his step. I couldn't see his face, but it's safe to guess that he didn't react at all. No more than he had to anything else. I stalked after him, still shouting for a time, but eventually gave up. 5 words was all I'm gonna get out of him, I guess. We walked along the platform until we came to the junction, then turned. Now we were perpendicular to the trains around us. The path ahead was lit from above, but I couldn't see where it ended. The trains on either side of us went on forever, as far as I could tell. Far too many trains service one city, I realized. It wouldn't have mattered by then, I figured, but I probably should have paid more attention to the time. I'm not sure how long we walked. I had a watch once, but it broke. I took out my cell phone at one point, but got no reception down there. And all it would show me was no signal. The stranger would stop every now and then and look at the subway car for a moment or two, but then pass on. It took me a while to figure out why, but eventually I saw they weren't all the same. Long lines of them would be similar, and then would come to a different model. It'd be a little larger or smaller or have a slightly different shape. The cockpits, or whatever you call them, called the front where the conductor sits, were different as well. I didn't and I don't know what exactly he was looking for, but eventually he must have found it, because he turned again, and the subway doors opened when my impromptu guide stopped in front of them. We entered and took our seats. Are you willing to speak now? I asked him. No answer. I signed with frustration and seriously weighed the pros and cons of punching him right in the face for a time, when suddenly the light of the car came on and I heard the engine starting up. What the fuck? He gave me a look that was almost sad. You're not going to be able to go back. What are you talking about? Go back where? Nothing again. The stonewalling asshole. The train lurched into motion, pushing off the opposite directions. Then one would come for. The endless parade of them had thrown off my sense of direction. It rolled for a few minutes and then began to slow as we approached the stop. His vacant gaze grew sharper from the first time I got the sense that he was actually staring at me, rather than just looking in the direction I happened to be in. Be still, Stop silent. Don't catch their attention. The train stopped, the doors opened, and they began to flood in. I don't know what I noticed first. The weird clothes, the two long arms with hands that almost brushed the floor, and jet black eyes, and angular faces of the blue-gray hue of their skin. My eyes took in all the stimuli. For a long second, my brain refused to process it. And when it finally did, I was barely able to bite down on the shriek that tried to tear its way to my throat. I thought my heart was going to explode. Hell, I thought I was going to explode. I was like a strung guitar string. Everything in me lurched and throbbled. My sight grew dizzy, which I was thankful for. I vomited. My mouth was clenched shut, and I forced myself to swallow it, barely managing it. My instincts were screaming his words at all. Be still. Be silent. Don't catch their attention. The day is a blur. We roll in the subway car up and down the line, still and expressionless for hours. For days, perhaps. It seemed much longer than the line I knew, the line I'd followed the stranger along. The hideous things around us seemed to pay us undue attention, though we must have stood out fiercely. I was so petrified with fear, and when we finally returned to the endless cavern of trains, alone, I burst into tears. I collapsed on the floor and just sobbed a long time, and the stranger watching. When I gained control of myself, I looked at him. Take me home, I cracked out. Please. I can't, he told me. Don't know which one of these will lead you back, if any of them do. He stood and walked out onto the platform, and I rose wearily and followed him. He spun around sharply. I think you followed me enough. The rage I felt for him before, the panic temporarily buried, rose up in me. What? I screamed, rushing forward. I grabbed him by the shoulder, and with the burst of insane strength I didn't even know what was in me, slammed him against the side of the metro car. You fucking son of a bitch. What the fuck did you do to me? I slammed him again and again. Take me back. He bore it all passively, and soon the flare of anger in me guttered out. Left me home. Please, I begged him. Please take me home. That's not how it works, he said. If we stay together, it's more likely that we'll notice. Go your own way. Be still. Be subtle. And they'll think that you're one of theirs. How could you do this to me? Why? He gave me another almost sad look. I had to. You will too. You get stuck sometimes. He brushed my hands off his shoulders and turned to walk away. I felt my knees suddenly out of strength and watched him leave. At the junction, he turned back to face me. I'm sorry. And then he was gone.